Hello and welcome to this webinar of the International Labour Organization's Global Business and Disability Network. My name is Menze, Jürgen Menze, the coordinator of the Global Business and Disability Network. I'm very happy that you joined us today, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're based. I'm a middle-aged white man with a beard and a light blue shirt. So today's webinar is about the Zero Project and how companies can nominate their good practices in the area of disability inclusive employment. We have a great panel with us today, but before we jump into the topic of the Zero Project, let me remind you about some of the logistics that we have in this webinar. For those who can see, there should be an international sign interpreter next to the speaker's window. So right now next to me. And of course, we will have international sign interpretation throughout the webinar. In addition, we have live captioning, and I will also drop the link to the external caption viewer in the chat. The chat is there for you to introduce yourself. Feel free to use the chat function to talk to each other among the participants. And say who you are, where you're based, what your particular interest is. But I would encourage you to use for questions, any questions you might have to the speakers, please use the Q&A function of Zoom. That will make it much easier for us as the organizers to see, to identify the questions rather than going through all the chat log. And the speakers will also be able to respond to the questions in writing. But of course, the whole idea is that we spend about 40 minutes or so for presentations, and then we would have about 20 minutes for Q&A, moderated Q&A with you, the online audience. So with that said, also saying, of course, that this webinar is being recorded as usually, and it will be made available after this hour now on the website of the Global Business and Disability Network and also the YouTube channel of the ILO. Now, before we start, we have prepared a poll just to understand a little bit better who you are, who you represent, and whether you already had any engagement with the Zero Project in the past. So you should see on your screen 4 questions. The first question is about what type of entity do you represent? Are you coming from the business community, which is our primary target audience today? If so, do you come from a big or small company? Do you come from a national business and disability network, or do you come from non-business entities like OPDs, or organizations of persons with disabilities, or disability NGOs? The second question relates to the Global Business and Disability Network. So the one that is hosting this webinar today. As you might know, it comprises currently 40 multinational enterprises, but also 40 national business and disability networks. So the question here is your entity, your company, your organization part of the global network or any of the 40 national business and disability networks? The third question we have for you is, did you ever attend the Zero Project conference, either in person or virtual? And then the last question, the fourth and last question is, if you represent a company, we understand there are also representatives from non-business entities in this webinar, but if you represent a company in the last 3 years, how many global and regional events focused on disability inclusion and/or accessibility? In how many of these events was your company present? So we have now, let's give it another 20 seconds or so to allow most of the participants to reply to these 4 questions, and then we'll share the results of the poll just to give us an idea about who is in this webinar with us today and how much exposure and engagement you already had with the Zero Project specifically, but also generally related to disability/accessibility events at global and regional level. Now, so we have 71% of the participants, so more than 2/3 have replied. So I'll end the poll now and share the results. So we see that 20% of the participants today come from multinational enterprises, which is great. Another 27% from small and medium-sized enterprises, and almost a third from organizations of persons with disabilities or NGOs, and then 20% from others like public authorities or trade unions. We see that 44% of those in the webinar right now belong to the global network, Global Business and Disability Network, and or some of the national business and disability networks. And in terms of attending the Zero Project Conference, we see that 1/3 says yes, 33% say yes, they have either attended in person or virtual the Zero Project Conference in the past. And regarding the question about companies being involved in disability inclusion or accessibility events at global or regional level since 2021, we see that those who responded said, well, 22% said yes, 2 to 5 events my company was engaged, 2 to 5 events my company was involved in, 11% even said 5 to 10 events in the last 3 years, and more than a quarter, 26%, that more than 10 events were attended by the company had a role in global and regional disability events. And then 41% say it's not applicable because they don't represent a company, which is of course clear because many of the participants are also not from the business community. But thanks so much for, first of all, for joining the webinar today. It's going to be very exciting to learn more about the Zero Project Conference, but also, of course, for responding to the poll, which gives us some interesting insights into who is on the webinar and what your specific organizations are and doing. Now, with that said, I said we have an amazing group of speakers with us today, and I'll just quickly mention them, and then I'll hand it over to the first speaker. So we have with us today Anna Königseder. She's a director for business partnerships and operations at the Zero Project. We also have with us Susan Scott Parker. She's wearing many hats. Today, she's wearing the hat as Zero Project Ambassador. And also Neil Milliken, who is the Global Head of Accessibility at Atos, Atos being the current chair of the Global Business and Disability Network. So with that said, Anna, we're very excited to hear from you. What is a Zero Project and how can companies get involved, especially next year when it's about employment?
Thanks a lot, Jürgen. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Königseder. I'm the Director of Business Partnerships and Operations within the Zero Project team. We're very happy to have this opportunity to present our work and specifically the upcoming call for nominations. Before I start, I also wanted to especially thank Susan Scott Parker for preparing this presentation together with me. So now I will start sharing my presentation. So the goal of this presentation is to present briefly the ESL Foundation, who initiated the Zero Project, what we are doing, our work, then focus on the call for nominations on inclusive employment and ICT. I will specifically focus on nominations, on examples of programs that we encourage to nominate coming from the business sector. But of course, I'm happy to answer all the questions that might come from other sectors at the end of the presentation. And I've also added quite some links in this presentation that afterwards you could have a look at all the different subtopics, all the different examples that we are looking for in nominations. And at the end, I would also like to give a short outlook on the process, on the selection of awardees, how the selection process is organized, and also give some information on the Zero Project Conference. So the Zero Project is an initiative of the ESL Foundation. The ESL Foundation is a non-profit foundation based in Vienna, Austria, and it was the foundation was funded by Martin Essl, who is a member of an Austrian entrepreneurial family, and they own the first do-it-yourself market in Austria, and they had more than 10,000 employees in Europe. And disability and inclusion has always been very important for Martin already in his company, and he continued these efforts in this foundation, and he also employed a high number of persons with disabilities already in his company. So our mission and our work is based on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We're working for a world with zero barriers. What we are doing is, so the Zero Project finds and shares solutions that improve the daily lives and legal rights of all persons with disabilities. We, of course, are not doing this alone. We have a fantastic global network who work together with us on our mission. It's a cross-sectoral network that consists of United Nations agencies, many international NGOs and networks, grassroots organizations, national parliaments, universities, academics. We also have some regional hubs. So we have partner foundation in Chile, who is organizing very soon on May 7th, the Zero Project Latin America conference dedicated to the Spanish-speaking countries. And we also have a hub in India. We have 2 local partners there and also strategic partnership in Singapore. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I would like to focus this presentation on the next upcoming call for nominations on employment and ICT. So the Zero Project launches this call once a year, where we are looking for innovative solutions regarding the current topic from all sectors, from the public sector, private sector, but also civil sector. What we are looking for are programs, solutions, projects that respond to these 3 criteria. So these are the 3 main selection criteria that peer reviewers then are focusing on when they're screening the nominations. So it's innovation, impact, and scalability. Perhaps I elaborate a bit more specifically on innovation. Innovation is always seen in a geographical context, but also sectorial context. So to give you some concrete examples, if you're a company who is offering as first company in this region, in the country, or in your sector, internships to persons with disabilities, this is considered innovative. Or if you are the first company in this region, in the sector, who is partnering with a local DPO to improve the employability of persons with disabilities, this is considered innovative. So really always in a geographical context and always also in the activity context that your company is working in. Impact means that our peer reviewers focus and really specifically look at the measurable impact that your project, your program has. Measurable impact in the field of inclusive employment would mean the number of persons with disabilities who have found an employment, number of persons with disabilities who are employed. In case, for example, of mentoring or leadership programs for employees with disabilities, this would mean the number of employees with disabilities who got a promotion, for example. So it does not only mean, impact does not only mean newly employed persons with disabilities, but also improvement in the sense of promotion or in the sense of workplace adaptations for persons with disabilities that are already employed. And also could also be the how that persons with disabilities have retained their jobs. I will get back to some concrete examples in this area a bit later. Scalability is the 3rd selection criteria for the Zero Project Award. This means that we cannot accept programs, projects, solutions that only work in a very specific geographical or legal context. So we are really looking for programs that are proven, that work, and that can be scaled in another country, in another region, but scaled also in another sector, for example. As I already mentioned, there are 2 topics for the next upcoming call. So it's inclusive employment, but also ICT. When you click on the link later, if you would like, there you can see all different kinds of examples of technologies that we're also looking for. In the next slides, I will give you some examples for nominations, programs that we are seeking as nominations from the business and public sector. So in general, we encourage nominations from employers in both the public and the private sector. So all program solutions that enable the economic empowerment of persons with disabilities, and we are looking for nominations worldwide. We encourage best practices from public and private sector employers that really go beyond mere legal compliance. This is a very important factor. So we really need to see in the nomination that disability and inclusion is an integral part of the company's strategy. And of course, we encourage nominations that showcase partnerships with relevant stakeholders to transform the employment prospects of persons with disabilities by shaping job markets. On this slide, I have some examples of a nomination possible programs that could be eligible for a Zero Project Award in the field of talent acquisition, recruitment, and employment. So all programs in general that bring persons with disabilities in managed talent pipelines. If you offer work experience, apprenticeship, internships, opportunities to persons with disabilities, we really highly encourage you to nominate these programs. Here I've mentioned it, including women and girls with disabilities. This focus is true across all topics, so we really encourage nominations programs that target women and girls with disabilities as a very vulnerable group within the disability sector. Another concrete example would be any kind of programs that make it possible for persons with disabilities to participate in mainstream programs to gain the skills and qualifications that employer value. As already mentioned, also with the impact and the impact examples, mentoring and leadership development supports. This could be on the one hand for persons with disabilities who are looking for a job, but also for employees with disabilities who already are employed, but thanks to this program would make it possible for them to get promoted. And also a possible nomination would be any kind of program solution to lobby public policymakers as allies of persons with disabilities to bring persons with disabilities really into the mainstream learning and skills provision. As I mentioned already in the beginning, we're not only seeking for projects that have an impact when it comes to newly employed persons with disabilities, but also we are very interested in programs and best practices that enable employees who acquire disabilities to retain their jobs and also to develop their careers. Here again, a focus also when it comes to career development and leadership development, bringing women with disabilities into mainstream leadership programs, any kind of provisions of workplace adjustments for employees with disabilities to really enhance their productivity and engagement. So here also this is really going beyond merely built environment adaptation, built environment accessibilities, which would more fall in our cycle in the next year in the year of accessibility. We are seeking also nominations for leadership development programs for employees with disabilities. And any kind of partnerships, any kind of programs that show a partnership with Disability Employee Network, employee resource groups to really improve the organization's disability performance in recruitment and retention. As last examples, I would like to talk about entrepreneurship and microfinancing, which is also a very important subtopic in this year's call for nominations. So all initiatives enabling disability-owned businesses to enter the organization's supply chain, all efforts to ensure mainstream access to finances and also relevant support services for disability-owned small businesses, micro enterprises, and of course for self-employed persons with disabilities. Here again, a focus on ensuring also access for women with disabilities to financial supports. So the added value for being a Zero Project awardees. So awardees will receive international recognition. They have access to our international network. All awardees, of course, are invited to present at the Zero Project conference. The next will be from the 5th to the 7th of March at the United Nations office in Vienna. And for some companies, organizations might be interested also to join our Zero Project Scaling Solutions program. Here specifically, we have added some examples of added value, why it's interesting for businesses to join the Zero Project Network. I think Milliken afterwards will also give his very own personal experience from being a former Zero Project awardee and having joined the Zero Project Network, what this means for a business. It's an opportunity to learn directly from the global disability community. As already mentioned, the Zero Project Network contains a lot of organizations of persons with disabilities, non-profit organizations, large one, but also smaller local organizations, and a lot of experts when it comes to assistive technology. It is a possibility, specifically at the conference, to engage with business leaders, to really seeking to leverage the collective influence to the mutual benefit of business and persons with disabilities. It's a great opportunity to engage also with international business-related networks and standard setters, of course, the ILO GBDN, the Value 500, Purple Space, and to engage with stakeholders from public sector and civil society. I also wanted to give some concrete overview of the next step, how the nomination process is organized. The nominations will kick off on May 8th. It's via an online platform with questionnaire at around 20-25 questions that you can fill out. You can also download the questions already on our website if you want to have a look at it from today on already. The call closes on June 16th. And I also wanted to add, because it has come up in some other discussions already, this is a confidential process. So the Zero Project never publishes who has nominated what kind of project. The only projects that are published are the awardees. They are published in reports and also on our website. And this is we write a summary from these projects that are approved by the organizations themselves. So we would never publish anything that has not been agreed. Just to mention that as well. And so when the call closes, we organize our peer review process, which means that we are looking for experts within our network who evaluate the respective nominations. Of course, we take care if we have nominations from the private sector that we match them, of course, with experts who are working in the private sector, who have experience in the private sector and can really judge the projects. And they are also taking into account if a project comes from a smaller company or from a corporate, because of course when it comes to impact figures, we're taking this into account. They are having a very close look at the innovative elements. So what is innovative in this very specific context? In October, we will have final decisions, and we usually announce the awardees on December 3rd. And in March, we are organizing the Zero Project Conference. It's a 3-day conference at the United Nations headquarters in Vienna. It's just to give you an idea about the size of the conference. It's a hybrid event. And at the last conference in February 2024, we had more than 1,000 participants from 100 countries. And I added also some impressions from the last conference, so some photos. So you can see on the first photo, Martin Essel and the founder of the Essel Foundation, and Michael Fembeck, the CEO of the Zero Project, with the new Zero Project ambassadors at the conference. On the right-hand side, there is a photo of Gadavalli, the Director General of the United Nations Office at Vienna, who always celebrates the opening ceremony together with us at the UN. And then you can see a picture of some sessions on the right-hand side down. You can see Caroline Casey, who is moderating our conference, just kicking off another session. Then on the next photos, you can see also a session with youth participants. We had a Young Voices program at the last conference. Then another photo showing the exhibition area. We have a big exhibition area at the UN at the conference where you can try out innovative technologies. And at the left-hand side, there's what we call the Zero Project family picture. It's the picture with all awardees from last year. And last but not least, a picture from Sarah Minkera, who is the United States Special Advisor on International Disability Rights, holding a keynote speech at the conference. I have also added some links and some QR codes to the PowerPoint presentation that will be sent afterwards. If you want, you can go to a website. We have a dedicated website with all relevant information on the Zero Project call for nominations. We also offer one-on-one consultation calls in case you would like to ask some specific questions about a potential nomination, about your program. If you're not sure, please do not hesitate to contact us. We are available to discuss this project individually with you. And there's also a QR code if you would like to already download the questions that will be online soon in the nomination platform. So I hope this gave everyone a short overview of our work, but also of the kind of project that we're looking for, that we're seeking for as nominations. Again, thanks a lot, Jürgen, for this opportunity, and of course, happy to answer all of your questions. I see that my colleague Robin Tim-Weiss, the Director of International Affairs, is also in the participants, already posting some useful links. Thanks a lot, Robin, for that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anna, for your presentation, and also for Robin for sending already relevant links in the chat. Now, just before I give the floor to Susan Scott-Parker, just wanted to also say that I am personally a big fan of the Zero Project. I've attended the conference a few times in Vienna. It's a great space to also just network, meet like-minded disability champions, so to say. It always energizes you to be there. But of course, this call is also about making sure that companies nominate their good practices in the area of employment, but also ICT. And yeah, as we said, we'll have some more time for question and answers at the end of the webinar. For now, we hand it over to Susan Scott-Parker. She's, as I said, wearing many hats today, the head as Zero Project Ambassador. Miss Ambassador, what would you say about the Zero Project?
I think it's Madame Ambassador, isn't it?
I'm very sorry.
Oh, sorry, you should be. I wanted to follow up on what Anna was saying with particular reference to this opportunity for the business community, particularly, of course, members of the ILO's Global Business Disability Network and members of the business disability networks all around the world, to use this to kind of raise the profile of what you're doing already and what you want to do. So, for example, it's an opportunity for someone at global or regional level to send out a kind of request for information. What are we doing around the world that might warrant, meet the criteria, if you like, for us to nominate this example of best practice for an award? I can remember a global bank once went out with an award that said, we're giving an award for best practice in welcoming disabled customers. And to their astonishment, they came up with all kinds of examples of really good things that were going on around the world that they just didn't know about. So this is a good excuse to go out there and take stock. What's really happening out there that might qualify as innovative and having real impact? It's a chance to raise the profile internally of what's going on, in the sense that when you win an award for what you're doing in Hong Kong, it's an opportunity then to share that across the business, to ask, well, if we're doing that in Hong Kong, maybe we could be doing it in Hanoi. Secondly, I want to remind us that actually the focus here is we're looking for examples of innovation that are bringing concrete, measurable results. So it's not just we trained some people, it's how many got jobs. And so there's two dimensions of this for me in terms of adding value. One is that actually, if you're looking at your reporting, both to the board, because you've got a board level interest in measuring your performance, you're looking at your reporting under your ESG goals. This is a chance to gather the data that says we can quantify the impact that we're having, that's both delivering business improvement and benefiting people with disabilities, and of course, enhancing economic growth and all those other societal-wide, economic-wide objectives that we're working to as a responsible company. On the innovation front, I'm really glad, Anna, that you stressed that while technically, having an internship program may not sound innovative, when we see companies doing it to scale in, I don't know, Kenya and in Cambodia, that's innovative. It's having a huge impact, both because, of course, you're empowering people with disabilities to come into the workforce with the skills you're looking for, but you're also sending out that big message that says business can be a trusted ally and partner in this bigger aim of ensuring that no one is left behind. Now, for me, a key here is that we're seeing so many examples of where companies are coming together to say, actually, we have a problem and it's called the job market. It's too hard for the well-intentioned employer here to find disabled talent that's got the skills we're looking for. There's too big a gap between business and people in the disability sector. So we're looking for examples of where companies have come together in partnership with people with disabilities to bridge that gap, to help the disability sector and public policymakers to realize that positioning business as a valued stakeholder, valued service user, valued potential partner plays a huge role in ensuring that we drive substantial improvement to the employability, if you like, of people with disabilities around the world. And it's business that really understands system change and the need for key players, all of them, to do things differently if we're going to get different results. It's not enough just for one player to up their game. And I wanted to just remind us that actually, when we look at the potential for business collectively to influence at local level, there are so many real opportunities to learn from what one company has done, as you're watching the awards ceremony next March in Vienna, and to go, well, if that worked for that group of companies in Bangladesh, maybe we could adapt it and just shape it so that actually something quite similar can be, in terms of scaling up, be made to have similar impact in Toronto. And I'm particularly interested in the impact when you're looking for innovation that's generated when people who don't normally meet come together. And so, damn phone. And so the impact when people who don't usually meet come together, swapping ideas, getting a better understanding of each other, but really pushing the boundary called, why do you do that? Well, what do you mean, why do we do that? It's just the way it's always done. But when people from outside your world start asking, why do you do that? Why do we do that? You end up with the energy and the potential for really asking the new questions, the fresh questions that give us a completely different take on what needs to be done. And of course, that's why I'm saying when business comes to the Zero Project and you're starting to meet people from organizations of disabled people in Nigeria, and you're meeting people from an NGO that's working over here in San Francisco and a nonprofit that's working over here that you would ordinarily never meet, your sense of what's in your worldview starts to expand and you start to get some really interesting ideas. So all in all, I think you should start booking your hotels in March in Vienna right away, because even if you're not an award winner, you have to be there. But I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of your nominations. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Madam Ambassador. I hope they will give you an ambassador residence while you're then in Vienna. No, and of course, I agree that independent of the awards, which is great to get your good work recognized, I think it's a great space to be, network, learn from each other, inspire each other. So thanks a lot. Now we hear directly from a representative of a company, Neil. Neil is global head of accessibility, vice president at Atos, and Atos happens to be, not by coincidence, but also happens to be the current chair of the Global Business and Disability Network. So Neil, being very active as a company, as an individual in the Zero Project, what do you have to say to us?
Thank you, Jürgen. For those of you that can't see me, I'm a middle-aged white male with a close-cropped goatee beard and a light jacket and green collarless shirt. So what do I have to say about Zero? Well, it is a place to celebrate and celebrate inclusion, and a place to meet existing heroes and learn about new ones, and maybe create the next generation of heroes as well. So I was asked to say, what was our motivation to get involved? Well, partly selfishly, we wished to burnish our reputation, not only as an organization, but as an accessibility team. We're a very large organization with something around 100,000 plus employees. It flexes depending on bits that get carved in and carved out, but very large organization in 70 different countries. Participating in events like this and gaining awards that have the prestige of the Zero Awards is really important for the recognition of our team, both internally and externally. It's also great to be able to come to Vienna and meet all of these other people, as both Madam Ambassador and Anna have said. It's really a really amazing mix of different people. I go to lots of sort of technical accessibility conferences and HR conferences and so on, but this is really unlike any of the other conferences that I go to, where you get such a mix of different practitioners from the disability communities across different sectors. So it really is a melting pot for ideas. I think having the work that we're doing recognized as a best practice really does burnish that reputation, but also gives it credibility for us to be able to work with other people to help transfer that knowledge, because actually, whilst we've done it for ourselves, we also want to do it for other people and help other people participate and improve their business practices as well. And of course, it's aligned with our programmatic work, which also includes working with the ILO Global Business and Disability Network, of which we're proud to be chair last year. And this part of what we do is try and join the dots. Really very interested in making sure that we can make sure that we don't duplicate unnecessarily, and that we can amplify and bring people together. So networks like the GBDN, where we have businesses sharing their practices and knowledge in a safe space, and also organizations like Zero and the wider convening space are really opportunities for cross-fertilization between the different practitioners. So as I said, very few conferences have this broad variety of contacts. It's also an opportunity for me to bring my team together. I have a multinational team. We're across lots of different countries. It's really difficult to bring everyone together just for a meeting. So having the opportunity to bring people together at conferences, to inspire them, to learn from others is really important. It helps with camaraderie, etc. And of course, speaking at the UN is and will continue to be an honor and a highlight for many people. There's a great attraction in that. So everybody's a winner that gets to attend Zero Conference, even if you haven't won a best practice award. You're winning by meeting all of these people. You're winning by participating in an event that has unparalleled joy out of any of the sort of conferences that I attend. I love other conferences, but the amount of joy and celebration that we have at Zero is unparalleled, genuinely. So it's an opportunity for you to make your colleagues proud of you and the work that you're doing, for you to share your own pride and build alliances, because actually with so many people being in one space at any one time, you'll find opportunities to be able to create partnerships, move things forwards, have people that can support you as well in your projects. When I talk about building alliances, particularly we have alliances with the ILO, but we also have alliances with GIZ, who are the German Overseas Development Corporation, and together we've worked on the Scaling Solutions project. So I'm very interested in finding things that can work across all of the different countries that we operate in, and finding ways to help people with good ideas, move them from maybe working in one country and in one context across other countries and other contexts. So we also use the conference as a space for us to build upon this and to look at celebrating the scaling partners, and also looking at what we're going to do in the next year. So it really is a sort of multifaceted conference, and the opportunities for you to build those alliances and to find contributors to things that you want to do or things that you want to contribute to are really something that you should not discount. And then finally, you get to meet your heroes and look at the heroes of the next generation. So here are actually two of my heroes, Caroline Casey and my program manager, Alexandra. You'll notice that there are no grey suits here. I refrained from wearing grey again today because it's a celebration. I keep going back to the fact that it's a celebration. Yes, we're professionals, but doesn't mean that we can't have a bit of colour in our lives and have, as I said, joy. We all learn together and we can amplify the impact. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share about the work that we're doing together, and to encourage you, and especially businesses, because we need more businesses, because they are the segment of the various different sectors that is least represented at the moment, to come and share your best practices. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Neil. Firstly, I realized I made a mistake this year because I was wearing a gray suit in Vienna at the last Zero Project conference. I will put that in my notes to wear whatever. I guess I only have gray and blue suits, but maybe at least a green shirt.
I believe that Bernd Schramm from GIZ can put you in touch with a very good Vietnamese tailor that will give you a nice jazzy line in suits.
Excellent. I'll make sure the color is exactly the one that Zero Project uses, a nice green. But great. No, thanks, Neil. Thanks so much, and especially highlighting it's really a celebration, a great space to celebrate. We'll try in the Global Business and Disability Network to get our global annual conference close to the level of excitement and fun that we usually have in Vienna. But at least we're maybe like second in the ranking after Zero Project conference. No, excellent. Neil, and I hope you allow us to take a few of your remarks as snippets and put them on our social media, especially to convince other companies to follow suit and attend, yes, give a thumbs up, because it's really that's what you said. We need to get more companies to such events, especially the Zero Project conference. I think it's great to see that the number of companies and the sheer number of company representatives is increasing over the years. I mean, the Zero Project has been around for more than a decade now, and business is attending more and more. But of course, there's room for improvement, and that's why we also decided to have today's webinar. Now, thanks a lot again to all the speakers, Anna, Madam Ambassador Susan, and Neil, President Neil or Chair Neil. I'm not sure which titles are now appropriate anymore. Anyways, now, we have about 15 minutes for Q&A. Some of the questions that we received were already answered in writing, but for the benefit of all, I'm gonna read out the most pertinent ones, or maybe I'll paraphrasing them a bit. Basically, since today's webinar, we also have, a good number of company representatives, of course, as a primary target audience. At the same time, we have representatives from civil society, from NGOs, from organizations of persons with disabilities. So we got the question here from Idia Abenaitwe. Hopefully the family name is more or less what I just said, about who can nominate. So she says she's working in an organization that helps also private sector companies in the area of disability inclusive employment. So could a non-business entity nominate a company to get an award eventually? So Anna, what can you tell people with such kind of questions?
Yes, so thanks a lot for the question. So there are, of course, you can nominate yourself as a company, as a civil society organization, but you can also nominate someone else. So yes, an NGO, for example, can nominate a company. But what we would request is that you really know the project, of course, very well. And we always ask, if someone is nominating the project of another organization, that you give us also a contact at this company, so that if we have questions, that we can get back to them. But yes, it is possible to nominate someone else, so another organization, another company. I hope this answers your question.
Thanks. I think that's clear. So you can nominate a company, but please make sure that the company knows about it and agrees, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Then we got a question. I know, Anna, you already replied to that in writing here in the Q&A function of Zoom, but not all will have seen it. So how many companies will actually be selected among the awardees then in March 2025?
So in average, we have 75 awardees each year in total. And we have no number prefix before we start the call. So the number of nominations, or the number of awardees from business sector will depend on the number also of nominations and on the ranking of the nominations that we receive. But an estimation would be that 20–25% might come from the business sector, but I cannot give an exact number. And I think the important thing is we do not limit it before we get the nominations. And also, perhaps could be a related question that we sometimes get. It's not that we only award one internship program, for example, per year, or one mentoring program per year. It could be that there are 3 internships that got the very good evaluations and they become an awardee. So we do not limit it to one per category, for example, if that is also perhaps an additional information that can be helpful.
Thanks a lot, Anna. I'll keep you here on the spot. First, of course, this webinar is also has a goal of getting companies probably for the first time nominating a practice in the area of employment and ICT. But since there are some companies or organizations that have already nominated in the past and maybe even won an award, like Atos, can they nominate again?
Yes. So we have many organizations who are working in different fields, who cover like our 4-year cycle, accessibility, or education, employment. So it is possible to nominate again, but it is only possible to win an award with the same. So it's also possible if you have been awarded for, let's say you have an award for an inclusive employment project in 2021, you can renominate the same project for this year, but there has to be a substantial development, there has to be substantial results compared to the 2021 nomination, for example. The only thing that is not possible, if you have won an award for a project that you have implemented and you've won the award in the year of accessibility, you cannot nominate the same project in the year where we focus on inclusive employment, and this is not possible. So it needs to be in the same topic. But of course, you can renominate the same project in the same topic cycle, let's say, and also you can renominate the project you already received an award, but we have to see substantial development, substantial changes.
I think that was crystal clear. Thank you, Anna. Just saw a question about collaborative projects, initiatives by 2 companies, for example, or more than 2 companies. And I remember, for example, in the context of the Global Business and Disability Network, we presented once 2 of our multinational company members work together on an initiative to develop a wider pool of digital accessibility experts who could help other companies in assessing and improving digital accessibility. This kind of collaborative effort among more than one company, then is that something that would be eligible in the Zero project?
The answer is yes. So any kind of collaborative projects are very welcome. This can be between two companies. It can be, we often have private public sector, perhaps partnerships, or it could be also projects that a business started a partnership with a local DPO to improve the job opportunities for persons with disabilities, for example. So we're very happy about this cooperation projects as nominations, and then if this project is awarded, it would always be that this is an award to both of the organizations. So both organizations, both company would be, of course, mentioned as the award winner of this year.
Thanks a lot, Anna. And I think the point about partnerships with relevant non-business entities like organizations of persons with disabilities, of course, it's a very important point. And we as ILO and Global Business and Disability Network encourage these business partnerships with relevant actors, of course, also. So those who are listening in, either from the business community or from the OPD, disability rights community, that is, of course, something you could also submit and nominate. Anna, maybe to give you a break, I also want to hear more about the Scaling Solutions program in which Atos is involved. Maybe, of course, Anna, you can say more about it, but maybe just to give you a break, also putting then now Neil on the spot. Neil,
Thank you.
What is it? How has Atos been involved, and why are you doing it? I mean, you mentioned you want to help others, but can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So actually, it came about because we were already working with GIZ, and we'd run our own inclusion challenges. And as I said, I always wish to reduce duplication and amplify things. So when we realized that there was similar stuff in terms of impact transfer going on with Zero project, it seemed very sensible for us to pool our resources and work together. Why do we want to do it? Well, we want to find things that can really have an impact. So what we often see is that there's duplication and that people are making solutions in one country that are very similar to others and reinventing the wheel. There's only so much money available. Only so many resources, and so rather than having people compete, we need to bring people together and help them and arm them with the skills so that they can be successful. And I think that the scaling and the Scale Up program is really great at giving people the business skills as well as the sort of the disability contacts and the ideas, because a lot of the entrepreneurs and the people that are coming into the program have done so from meeting a need within their community, and we want those needs to be met across multiple communities and for those to be profitable and sustainable, because if they don't attract funding, then they can't be sustainable, and we need stuff to continue year after year and to be able to grow. So we want these things because they help us in terms of finding new ideas, finding new innovations. It's also part of our program to work with the community because we believe that generates demand for accessibility and therefore credibility. So we have an ecosystem view, but also selfishly, if we can find new stuff that we can work with, that's great for us. So the program has a real structure around it. We have a selection process. We're looking for stuff that will be transferable, not just within one geographical area. And then we're looking for people with potential that we can match with partners that they can continue to grow. And that includes training, stuff on entrepreneurship, how to pitch, how to really build your organization, and then also mentoring with partners from companies as well. So it's a really good program. I'd encourage people to look at it, and if they're starting up something and have got beyond the startup and want to then take it to the next level, to apply.
Yeah, thanks so much, Neil. Anna, anything you would like to add from the Zero project side on the Scaling Solutions program?
I think Neil summarized it perfectly. I've posted also the link in to have more information also about this initiative on our website. We as the Zero project are extremely happy to have the good partners on this Scaling Solution program, and it has been a great success also for the last cycle, and we're very much looking forward to the next one. As Neil mentioned, this is also a program where you need to apply. We will distribute and communicate the information how to apply for this program in time. But if you have any particular questions about the program, please let us know. Send us an email or book also a consultation call that Robin just posted in the chat. We're happy to answer, of course, all of your questions.
Thanks a lot, Anna. No, it's clear. I mean, I think, and it's clear that the Zero project, including the conference, has many opportunities to engage, collaborate, scale up and innovate and network and so on. Now that's very much appreciated. And just, of course, the webinar and the work of the Global Business and Disability Network is very much targeting business. At the same time, I think we got a few questions about nominating also practices beyond the business community. You would just want to take a moment, Anna, to clarify who can submit nominations for the ZeroCall25, so the conference in 25 and the awards.
Yes, happy to do this. So as I mentioned also at the beginning, I was focusing very much on the business sector participation to the Zero project call, but of course we welcome nominations from all sectors, civil society, but also public sectors. So you can be a large, you can be an international NGO, also a smaller local NGO. There are a lot of projects that we are interested in, any kind of supported employment projects that bring persons with disabilities out of sheltered workshop onto the first labor market, any kind of transition models from education, vocational education to also the first labor market. So there's a lot of examples. If you have a look at our website that is dedicated 100% to the call for nominations, you can find out a lot of what kind of projects we're looking for. We also have on our website the database of all awardees since 2013. You can look up all the awardees with keywords, with some filter criteria, geographical area, also disability focus. That also gives usually a very good idea what kind of projects have been awarded already. But in case you have doubts, you're not sure, you need some support in filling out the nomination form, you need to clarify some questions because you're not sure which kind of projects you would like to nominate, please don't hesitate to book this one-on-one calls. Send us also an email. We really are here to help you to write your nominations. So do not hesitate to ask us all kinds of questions on it.
Thanks so much, Anna. And I saw that you also replied to a question from a UN colleague from the United Nations, that even the UN system can submit their nomination. So I'll make sure that colleagues in the UN family know about it.
Yes.
Let's see if as ILO want to submit something, but that's clear and well understood. And just as Anna said in her kickoff presentation, so to say, of course, all of this is confidential. If you submit a nomination, nobody knows about it. Unless you get the award. So there's no risk, you can only win. And that's, of course, helpful. It's about naming and praising, and of course, not naming and shaming. So I think we have come to the end of the webinar. Again, thanks so much for the time that all of you made available to first, of course, present and speak, but also to listen in, to engage and ask questions. We will make this recording available. All of those who are attending live now and all of those who had registered to this webinar will get a follow-up message with further information. Of course, as Anna said many times, the Zero project, she herself, her colleagues, including Robin, who was very active replying to questions here in the chat, they're all available to follow up, to answer particular questions you might have. All of that, of course, you will also get as follow-up message, the links, the email address, and so on. So thanks again. It's probably not the last time you will hear about the Zero project from the Global Business and Disability Network side. So this is just the start. We have about, what, 10 months left. So we are already excited to see what kind of awards or who will be the awardees from within the membership base of the Global Business and Disability Network and beyond. So thanks so much. Have a good rest of the day. For some of you, it's already bedtime, I assume. For others, it's only the start of the day. So thanks so much again. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.